Welcome to Universal News TV, your bilingual news channel, in English and French.
Agri-food products will be excluded from liberalization, according to the clauses of the African Continental Free Trade Area agreements. The latter comes into force on January 1st and offers a market of 1.2 billion people. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement requires 90% of commercial products to be liberalized after 5 years for developed countries and 10 years for developing countries. But how can African government fully exploit the advantages of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement? Now it's time to listen to what our panelists are going to say about this question. Listen.
What can our government do to exploit or fully exploit the advantages of the historical landmark African Continental Free Trade Area? Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure having you again on your Pan-African television. Today we are on the Pan-African debate platform and we're talking still pertinent issues concerning or affecting the African continent, but today we are focusing on the landmark historic free trade area that will launch on the 1st of January 2021, and we are actually concerned on how our governments or African governments or countries that have already signed and ratified this trade area, how they can fully benefit or exploit the advantages of the Continental Free Trade Area, and how can trade under the free trade area actually solidify economic integration in Africa. We're also looking at the role of political will, how it is helping or it will help to fully materialize, or for the Continental Free Trade Area to fully materialize. We will be together for 2 hours in the course of the program. It is interactive, it is informative. I'll invite all of you to share your own opinion of what you think as the trade area is going to be launched. What do you think has to be done at this particular juncture? What needs to be tackled for Africa to fully benefit from this trade area? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Pan-African debate. Let us go straight away to uncover those we have with us here in the studio. I'll start by presenting Professor Mark Anthony. It's a pleasure having you again, Professor Mark Anthony.
Thank you very much, Clarice, and to my fellow panelists who are out there, and to the million viewers of this particular channel. It is my pleasure being on this particular platform today to actually not only talk about issues that concern Africa, but to educate on the African Continental Free Trade Area and the benefits it has for our people, and as a continent, what we need to do in order to benefit from this particular free trade, which is going to be impacting our communities and our various, as our continent. You know, it is going to be something that will be new to us, but I think that if we are able to connect to it, we'll be able to take advantage of it and make the best out of it. So I'm going to be doing my best this afternoon to educate Africans on how they can take advantage of this particular trade that is being established. Okay. So thank you, and wait on us as we deliberate over this.
Thank you. I appreciate your presence today. And also we have Buffon Chevans. He's an entrepreneur and a CEO for Legacy Holdings. I hope I'm not mistaken. It's a pleasure having you today. You're welcome to the Pan-African channel and the Pan-African debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Clarice. Once more, it's a pleasure to sharing the same platform with you for over a year now. I'm most grateful, and I think this is an opportunity for me to express my own personal point of views, how ready the African continent is to embrace the AFCFTA, and also to talk or to educate my own fellow entrepreneurs out there how we ourselves can get ourselves ready, how to face the future, and how to seize this great opportunity that will come by us come January 2021. Thank you very much.
I should be the one saying thank you for accepting to be with me in the course of the program. And before we go proper to analyze and see how African governments, especially and also the private sector, can actually make good use of it, let's go to Nigeria. We are going to meet the lone lady in the studio today with us in the person of Kike Lomo Shodeko. She is a security consultant. Hello to you, madam. It's a pleasure having you on the Pan-African debate at this moment.
Hello, Clarice. How are you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. Basically, as the first panelist said, to educate, discuss, debate on the importance of this wonderful trade agreement that we have now, concretely have now in Africa. We already have some sort of trade going on in Africa, as we all know. West Africa has some sort of trade going on, and we have the OADA law that's really clear from the beginning that we were going to have some sort of trade agreement. So after is a broader based type of agreement that captures the whole of Africa, not just a sector of Africa. So yeah, I look forward to debating with my panelists, and it's a pleasure to be here again. Thank you.
Also for accepting the invitation, ladies and gentlemen. If you are just tuning in, you're onto the Pan-African debate brought to you by the Pan-African Television Africa Media, and we dive straight away to meet Agnes Temgwar with this report actually focusing on the advantages of the African Continental Free Trade Area and how African countries can make good use of it.
The African Continental Free Trade Area AFCFTA will commence trading on the 1st of January 2021. The African Union chairperson Cyril Ramaphosa announced on Saturday, December 5, while addressing a virtual session of the 13th extraordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government on AFCFTA. He signaled that the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is heading to a new era of progress. This comes as African countries have absorbed a heavy economic burden while struggling to respond to the pandemic's devastation on economies. The AU chairperson said the AFCFTA will boost intra-African trade, it will promote industrialization and competitiveness and contribute to job creation, and it will unleash regional values chains that will facilitate Africa's meaningful integration into the global economy. The AFCFTA will also improve the prospect of Africa as an attractive investment destination. It will help advance the empowerment of African women by improving women's access to trade opportunities, which will in turn facilitate economic freedom for women and expand the productive capacity of countries. The economic crisis caused by the pandemic has demonstrated the need to rethink Africa's development model. African countries must do more than get back to normal. It must build back even better by maximizing the benefits of the AFCFTA in order to help their economies taking off. The Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Wakemli Mene, during the last AFCFTA summit, called on Africans to end colonial economic model based on heavy dependence on export market in Western countries. African governments should also implement export-friendly policies and strategies as well as find new opportunities for diversification, industrialization and value chain development that will make trade more inclusive. The private sector and development partners should also be involved. There will be also a need for African government to improve its infrastructures, develop human capital, develop agricultural sector, encourage value addition, attract quality foreign direct investment, design and implement policies that will allow easy access on finance by investors and above all, tackle the insecurity in countries facing this situation. It is now left for African government to come together as one to find ways to revive economic growth and lessen their burdens on development.
Of course, it is very important for African governments to come together under one platform to see how we can move the continent forward. Thank you so very much, Agnes, for that report, throwing more light on this very historic free trade area that is coming to open its doors in Africa. And what are these advantages? Let me start with you, Javance. We're looking at how African governments can exploit the advantages, but then let us know first of all the advantages that the African Continental Free Trade Area comes with.
Okay, Clarice, let me point out clearly here that as the other panelist from Nigeria said in her introduction, in the past we have had several economic blocks. We have the CEMAC economic bloc, we have the ECOWAS, we also have the South African economic bloc that has been doing business within themselves. Yeah. But now the African intercontinental free trade area covers the whole of the African continent. We are talking about a continent that has close to 1.3 billion people. So now it is an opportunity, it's providing an opportunity for us Africans to leverage on a market of up to 1.3 million people, and with prospects of growing up to close to 2 billion in the next 5 years, which is quite a huge market for us. Then we are also looking at the advantages of free circulation, or circulation with some types of prohibition that permits entrepreneurs or permits business people to cut across all borders, to do business within all borders, which in the past has not been the case, because we have always faced a lot of restrictions from our government. So the major advantage we are having is a bigger market and a bigger opportunity for competition to grow in Africa. One of the limitations of Africa, which I always say in the business world that we have always faced, is the lack of competition. If I'm doing well in Cameroon, I believe that my limitation is in Cameroon first, because my market is Cameroon.
Absolutely,
but if to say that I have a bigger opportunity to cross over to Nigeria with a bigger population, and of course with a good number of expats, I'll do better. What if I'm moving down to South Africa? Obviously, I have to brand myself to fit the market I'm facing in Africa. So it gives room for competition. Then I believe to a particular level too, it will expose our government to understand that we are somehow lacking in terms of infrastructure. So our government has to do a lot to make sure we fit into the market, because it's providing an economic base of competition, not only politically competitive, but it's also going to expose our governments if we are not up to date when it comes to meeting up with the market demand. So I really think that it will boost our economic development, structural development, and the rate of competitiveness we have among entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you so very much. I'll come back to you, but let's look at it, Professor Mark Anthony. The African Union recently adopted the decision to start trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area. We know that it suffered a postponement due to the COVID-19, but January 1st, countries are actually eager to see that this is launched. But then pundits continue to ask this very question: what is Africa going to trade, and how are they going to go about it?
Yeah, it is a good question to ask, because for a very long period of time Africa had focused on natural resources, and in fact there was limited trade among African nations because of the fact that there was practically little that we were producing. What we could trade was natural resources that we had, and I think African nations were not the best buyers of the natural resources, because I think every nation in Africa has something. And so the best nations to trade with were Europeans, and that's why you saw very limited. The trade among African nations was very low, at below 3-point-something% all over the continent. And that was as a result of the fact that we had nothing that we could trade among ourselves. But this is creating an opportunity, and if you look at it critically, some people were blaming Nigeria for locking down its borders, but they did not realize what Nigeria was doing. Nigeria was preparing towards this particular free trade area.
Absolutely,
because they got encouraging the Nigerians to get involved in rice production. They got involved, so they empowered industrialization in Nigeria and all that. And so when the free trade area will be launched in January, who are those who are prepared for it? Those are the questions that we need to ask and answer. Who are those that are going to be prepared? If we are looking at Cameroon, I'm trying to ask the question, if Cameroon has been practically importing rice, toothpick from Europe and from Asia, why will we be trading our meats ourselves as Africans? And those are some of the things we need to be able to ask so that we get to answer and know what to do. Cameroon as a nation which I belong in had not been preparing for this free trade area because we are an importing nation. And apart from that, I want to say that is what African nations have been doing.
Of course, Cameroon is the latest country to ratify
the free trade area with Nigeria, who just did it of recent.
Does it suffice at that level?
Haven't actually ratified. Is it all about ratification of the agreement, or is it actually getting to be involved in it? Because it's not all about ratification. It is getting fully involved. What are the African nations, over 30-something of them, that have ratified this particular agreement? How prepared are they to face this particular D-Day that is coming? Are they sure they will be able to have something to give? And that is why I want to say it is necessary for African nations to go back on the drawing board and start thinking on how they can establish what will be needed to make Africa become that continent we want. I want to point this. Don't forget that that is a vast market of over $3.4 billion.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's a very large market of 1.3 billion people. That makes it a market that is second to none in the world. Because the largest market so far, which we're talking, is China, which is 1.2 billion people. And if Africa can match all that, that makes 1.3. It becomes the largest market in the world. That gives us the advantage to change. So it can become a game changer if only we will have what it takes.
Absolutely.
Question: do we have the industrialization? Do we have the capacity to build this and be able to trade among ourselves? The question seems like in my mouth. I might not want to answer that, but I'm trying to believe that for the past period of time, there are nations that have been preparing. When I look at Rwanda, what Rwanda's been doing, they have been building from inside. They have been trying to do what I call exchange of technology, where they are permitting these foreign bodies to come in and start building and doing all the cars that they are doing out in their countries. I think Nigeria has that. I think Ghana has that. I think if you go to South Africa is on that. You go to Egypt is on that.
Yeah.
And so we might, I want to be precise, Central African nations might not be prepared, but they need to prepare before it's too late. We need to get to the point where we are able to prepare. It is a vast market. And you know, if I'll give a counsel to most of our African leaders, Africa has the youngest population in the world, a population of barely 18%. I mean 18 age average.
Yeah.
When you talk of 18 years of age average. Apart from that, being the youngest population in the world, it means already that we have a large labor force that is being prepared. This labor force is able to transform whatsoever comes ahead. And when we look again, we'll discover that Africa is the second, and if not to talk of the first, when we talk of landscape, Africa should be the first largest continent in the world. And that also means that we have landscape enough which we could transform into an industry. And which industry are we talking about? Africans believe in agriculture. And so we could transform the African economy to become a total agrarian economy that actually produces food that can feed the world. And if we do that, we'll never be able to be in lack. Like what just happened in Nigeria, when Nigerians closed their borders and encouraged production of rice. They have land. They have to take advantage of it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you know Central Africa has land more than Cameroon? Has land more than Nigeria? With a population of 4-point-something million people. What are they doing with it? Those are some of the questions we need to ask and encourage our African nations to take advantage of what they have. I actually tell people, you only industrialize what you have. You don't industrialize what you do not have. Importing industrialization from Europe is not what is going to help Africa. We industrialize what we have. And what do we have? We have land. We have agriculture. So let's industrialize the agriculture in Africa. And when we do that, we will have what it takes to feed the world. We'll have what it takes to exchange amidst ourselves. Be very careful what I'm saying. I'm saying this because African nations, if you come between 2017 and today, 2020, we have been importing food at a tool of over $40 billion.
Quite alarming.
I mean, food. We have been importing food into Africa over the tool of $40 billion. That is quite alarming, as you said. When we have vast lands, we have the youngest population in the world. Why should we be importing food? And you know what? From now to 2050, the population of the world would have grown to 9 billion. And if we put it at 9 billion, that would also mean that the world will be in need of food. So scarcity of food is at the verge of our doors. And what do we need to do? Africa, you have the industry that you can turn around and you will use it to exchange and meet yourself. Food industry. Agriculture should be the thing that we should be talking about everywhere.
Which was, of course, will reduce the poverty gap in the continent.
It would automatically reduce the poverty gap. Because a lot of persons will get fully involved. And when they are fully involved, let me tell you this. Agriculture doesn't lie. It doesn't deceive. It pays. When people get involved in it, it will give them the income that they will need, that will be able to permit them now to say, okay, now that we have developed this particular industry, we can now bring in the automobile industry. We can now invest in that industry. You can't skip what you are already lacking in, which is supposed to be what you should empower, and struggle to bring in other industries when you are not done with the base. So I think Africa needs to go back to the base, build on that. It is a great industry that can bring a lot of wealth to Africa, based on the fact that we have the land.
All right, thank you so very much, Professor Mark Anthony. Over there to Nigeria, Madama Shodika. You are a security expert, but let's look at how the role security has to play with the Continental Free Trade Area. We can note that recently, we can note that probably clashes or intertribal wars have actually increased on the continent in recent times. But then, won't this be an impediment to this historic landmark or historic free trade area that is going to be launched on the 1st of January 2020? And we know the position of Nigeria, of course, when it comes to trading and whatsoever. So don't you think more needs to be done to make sure that countries would trade freely without fear of probably militants or jihadists, maybe terrorists, let me use the word, probably getting into their countries? Because that's one maybe a challenge at this particular moment.
Okay, Clarice, I hear you loud and clear. But one thing I want to say before I go into the security aspect of all this trade agreement is, to my panelists that just spoke, there's one mistake we make as analysts, and that is the idea that we think we know what the government is thinking when they create policies. Sir, even my own government have not explained to us the benefit of the border closure. So please, I beg of you, do not support a government that is clueless. I beg of you completely. And when you make references to other African governments and what they're able to do with their fictive policies, please do not support blindly what they are trying to do if they have not clearly stated the advantages of those decisions they made. When the government was going to reopen the borders, they did not tell us the benefit of closing it in the first place. They did not tell us, oh, we have achieved this, and so now we open the borders and we're good to go. The so-called rise, the so-called land we talk about in Africa, if you followed the interview we had some days back, you will know that land is not agriculture. Time has changed. This is 2020. Let us educate ourselves to the level in which we have gone to school, if I will put it that way. Land mass is never, ever agriculture. As we all know, we've all studied in the French system. I am a French system graduate, so we know how it is, where most of the things in the English system tells us that is an act. We know it is not. It is science, tough science. So agriculture is not land mass. Yes, we do have the population. Yes, we have all the good things. But if we don't figure out how to work with what we have to the level at which we are in 2020, then we will keep doing this to ourselves and continue to build castles in the air and continue to give excuses to governments that should know better. The truth is, our leaders do not know better. But we hope with this trade agreement, we are going in the right direction. That's by the way. Now, with the security aspect, like I said earlier, the trade agreement has existed from the beginning. One way or another in Africa, we've already started trading. We've been trading. So the issues that might have arisen, basically, the security issues that exist are basically for organized crime. So organized crime, like movement of trafficking of drugs, trafficking of humans, those are the basic issues that happen with trade agreements or easy movement across the borders. So you have a group of people that can easily be moved across borders, or drugs, or all those things. Those are the critical aspects of these trade agreements. But the truth is, they do not show forth until it becomes. I'm trying to put it in a way not to make it seem like this is not an issue. It is an issue, but until it becomes a situation where each of these governments take time out to understand the trafficking situation, to understand the organized crime in itself before it can be nipped in the bud. But apart from that, already organized crime still continues till date, as we all know, trade agreement or not, open borders or not. These people have figured out a way to bypass every government security agency. And so on occasions, we have situations where maybe in Côte d'Ivoire, you have someone moving in from maybe Togo, passing through to another country, and is caught in a vehicle with maybe illegally prescribed drugs and so on and so forth. So for me, the biggest issue that would arise from this trade agreement, which already exists, is the movement is organized crime generally, human trafficking, drug trafficking, all those vices that keep pulling us backwards. But when it comes to, then of course, you can even have a situation where illegally produced goods are moving across the borders. These are issues that have existed before. So AFTA is not going to further expand it, if I will put it that way. It's basically organized crime that exists even without the trade agreements, you know. So for me, security is important. That is one aspect. Then the other aspect that we look into is maybe the fear of individuals, like foreign individuals, coming into our space and causing mayhem. I would say again, these issues are already existing, and I don't think the trade agreement will amplify it in that sense, if I will put it that way. Because if we say the trade agreement is the reason why these things are occurring, then we are taking away the historical fact or the physical fact of what we have currently, because we already have nomads type of cattle rearers that move around and cause mayhem in communities. They already exist even without AFTA. We have situations where individuals from another country easily come into another country, maybe to do menial jobs and all that, maybe kill their in a situation where they kill or injure their hosts, you know. In those kind of situations, they already occur. So AFTA is not going to suddenly broaden it or make it smaller and so on and so forth. So for me, I don't think that's, if it's going to be a critical thing, it has to become a culture in itself before it becomes critical in that sense. So these issues already exist, like I said earlier, and so we will not dwell so much on that aspect as per the advantages, the pros of the trade agreement in itself, because it totally broadens our horizon on the advantages we have as Africans, especially when it comes to the business aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Shodeka. Coming to you, Javance, in line with what Madam Shodeka just said, she made mention, and you made mention, of course, that Africa has been trading. But then we want to look at the difference that this African Continental Free Trade Area will bring this time around. Because when we look at statistics, trade within a regional trade has not been encouraging in Africa. Taking an example of probably the CEMAC zone, where you look at the very small percentage of trade. So what difference will the African Continental Free Trade Area make?
Clarissa, I want to state here clearly that there is one thing when we talk about trading. As a trader, before you go to the market, you have something to trade. You have something to trade. Our regional blocks have been weak, first, because their policies are regionally focused. The policies are somehow different. And then secondly, within our regional blocks, countries controls what come within their countries and what goes out, which at times limits what a trader carries to the market. Now, when they talk about the CFTA, it gives opportunity for generalized or harmonized rules and regulations that governs trading within the African continent. But our greatest fear as entrepreneurs is that some countries might end up being dumping grounds, while some countries are actually key actors in the market space. And that goes back to what Prof was saying, which deals with preparedness in the field, because some countries absolutely are not prepared, some countries are prepared. So now, I don't know how far particular governments have gone to see that this is their specialty, this is what they can bring on the table, this is what they can market on the table, or this is what they can encourage their countries to actually produce. Because what I'm conscious about is that the AFCFTA produced a uniform platform that each and every citizen of Africa can freely do business with limitations, with considerable limitations within other countries, because obviously there will be rules, but the rules will somehow be attached to the trade agreement. But now, before we go to the table to sell, before we go to the market to trade, before we go to other countries to exhibit what we have to exhibit, how far are we ready, or how far are we sure that what we are producing is somehow up to the standard, with what we have in the market in the country where we are going to. So normally now, the trade agreement will harmonize trading within Africa, which of course is a good thing, but the trade agreement will not be able to state exactly which product is to be accepted in which market, because if they do such a demarcation, that means some countries will automatically be dumping grounds, and we already know that any country that is not prepared to go to the market obviously will not present what is good in the market. So absolutely, if it goes to the market in such a manner, there will be giants, countries that will emerge as business giants in Africa, while there will be countries that will be limited as consumers. So we should also, as we are willing to embrace the African Trade Area Agreement, we should also be willing to step up with what we have to send into the market. Because if we are not able to step up with what we send out to the market, absolutely, we'll end up being consumers. We send our products to the market, consumers don't buy. We have to buy what others bring to the market. So I think that that's what we should be looking at now. That's what all countries should be looking at. Are their products viable to go to the market? If their products goes to the market, would their pricing policy permit that other consumers get it? If yes, will the quality of the products actually be approved in the markets? So those are basic things we should look into them, because if we don't look into those things and the products actually go into the market, the AFCFTA will be as weak as any other regional body we have ever had, and there will be absolutely there will be no competition.
And that's what so many people pundits like. There's no difference. There's no difference.
There will be no competition. We will not be able to measure up to what we have in the Western world. China will still dominate us, despite the fact that we have the highest population. We have a market worth about 3 trillion, which has potentials of growing to even up to 5 trillion if we actually operate effectively. So we have to look into the quality of what we have to send into the market, which boils down to what Prof is talking about: preparedness. Are we actually prepared? Are we
actually prepared? That is the question. Are African governments actually prepared and ready to make good use of this trading, which will be guided by the African Continental Free Trade Area? Coming back to you, Professor Mark Anthony, let's look at this phenomenon. We have a market that is bringing together African countries. Now we have more than 30 African countries that have already signed and ratified, but then we are looking at strong and weak economies. How can there be balance to make sure that all of these countries benefit fully well from this trade? Because we are looking at how small economies can strive to meet up with other bigger economies in Africa.
Okay, before I get to answer that question, I want to say something to what my sister said there.
Okay, yeah.
You know, when we talk of land, maybe she didn't understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that that's the advantage we have. We have the land. Land does not mean it's agriculture. But land is the thing that makes agriculture work. If you want to do agriculture and you don't have the land, you're going to stress a lot. And once we have the land, then we can encourage the different technological skills on how to work on that land to make it useful. And so when we focus, when I talk on land, don't make mistakes. Agriculture is not the land, but that is the basic advantage. I think that if somebody has land and with the small knowledge he has, he can start investing before you can give him technological enforcement for him to get further. And so we have the land, and I will mention that several times so Africans to know. We have a landscape of over 30 point something thousand meters square, which we need to get to think over it. We have what it takes. We have the youthful force that could transform this particular landscape into a large agricultural industry which can transform Africa. So that is what I am saying. You know, when I'm talking is because I got to involve my organization into getting to fully involved in farming. We took over, we are struggling to take it over Africa, in every African nation. So far in Cameroon, we took 30 hectares of land and we got involved in transforming it, making it produce. We have different crops that we are actually working there. It is not because we believe that maybe the land is just going to give it to us. No. We are investing into it. When you have the land, you invest into it. And it gives you what you need. But I will say it and I will say it again. When a person who has understanding of what the land can do, invest in land, he doesn't go out crying. There's a benefit in it. And so I'm advising every African to take advantage. And she said something about the Nigerian closing the borders. At times there are policies they don't consult every citizen to get to execute. You do it because you think it is necessary. I know it's your country, it's not mine, and you can't actually tell me that every decision that your leaders take is wrong. No, it's not every decision that is wrong. There are some decisions that are actually there to benefit. I was watching a video of recent that was actually broadcasted concerning the upgrade in the rice farming in Nigeria, and I said, wow, I wish Cameroon could do that. Our rice industry in Cameroon has been killed. I remember in Cameroon we used to have DOP, which was producing, it is no more there. We have Sancho, all of them are gone. So
I think this free trade area will come to actually
I wish
bring
it can boost it up again.
Yeah.
And so when I see what is happening in Nigeria, even if it is small, even Nigerians don't want to appreciate, we are comparing two things here. And when we compare two things, we appreciate one more than the other. And so my young sister, I think you need to appreciate that. And I wish that can go all through Africa. Let all African governments get involved in empowering their people to have what they can exchange. And bringing me back to your question.
creating balance.
Yes. To be able to give Africa that platform, which will be able not only to exchange amidst itself, but to be able to face the world, because the interest is not just working amongst ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is to be able to face the world. If you discover we have 34 different tiny economies which have been actually raped by Europe, which is a giant body already. You have the European Union, which when the French people come to trade in Africa, they don't trade with France CFA, neither they trade with Naira nor the CDs nor Kwacha. They come trading with Euro, which means they are using the entire force of Europe to crush on us. And when the Americans come, it's a giant on itself. It's coming to crush us with the dollars. They bring back what belongs to them, which implies that they impose on us. We do not have the bargaining power before them. When China is coming, China says, I have my shine, and this is what I use, and they impose on us. And so that is where we have a problem. We do not have the bargaining power before these people. And I think that this African Continental Free Trade Area is supposed to become a means, let me use that word, through which we could bring all these tiny economies together, make it one. And I wish that from merging the economy, we could also create a currency that will boost it along with it, because just having an economy without a currency is a problem. Exchange will still be a problem.
Absolutely.
So even when we have that, as long as I'm going to go to buy from Nigeria with France CFA, we exchange with France CFA, it's a problem. As long as I'm going to get down to Malawi and I'm using Kwacha, it's a problem. As long as I'm going to go down to South Africa and I'm using Rand, it's a problem. So we need to bring all these bodies together, eliminate the various currencies that we use, and institute a strong African currency that will give us now the bargaining power. Because without that, all what we'll be doing is child's play.
Absolutely, because when we look at it critically, with all the deliberations that have been ongoing pertaining the African Continental Free Trade Area, there was no time we heard about a currency.
Good.
A currency that is going to circulate on this market. So how are we going to go about it?
That is the problem, and that's going to be the difficult thing behind it. Because if I'm entering to trade in Nigeria, what am I going to be trading with? Already, I have a problem there of exchange. And so, the African Continental Free Trade Area is, let me say, a chicken that is sold in a basket, in fact, in a bag that is closed. So we need it to be unclosed. We need policies that will guide this particular Continental Free Trade Area. If we do not come up with that, we will end up dancing to and fro and having no progress. So if we have to truly make progress, there is need for us now to go further, and that further is establish a currency. When the Europeans wanted to come together, they started like this. Okay, I have my francs, you have your pounds, you have your this, and you have your that, and we come together. Let's build one union. And when they did that, they said, no, we can't do this except we have one currency. And they came up with that, the euro. And today the euro is even almost stronger than the dollar.
The dollar, yeah.
That is what Africa needs to do. If we are going to face the world, I'll be sincere, we can't face the world divided. Even though we claim that we have a free market among Africans where it encourages intra-trade amidst the various countries. That intra-trade without a solid currency that backs it up is still useless. And so we should be talking to our leaders right now to not only blindfold us with the Continental Free Trade Area, which does not have a solid backing with a currency that permits us. And apart from that, how am I going to be living from Cameroon to enter Nigeria? The customs needs to be merged. And that also means that we need to come up with a unique passport that is going to permit us to do that. So we are claiming that by January this thing is going to be going on. By January 1st, right? Because it was postponed from July 2nd.
From July, yeah, to January 1st.
To January 1st. If it is going to happen in January 1st, what passport are we going to be using to enter into different nations? Or are we going to say no passports in Africa?
What happens to the dream of the African passport?
That would be good if there is no passport for me to enter Nigeria, for me to enter China, Egypt, Gabon, or any other nation. That would be good. Next issue should be the currency which we are going to be using. But I think that there is still going to be a lot of problems which we need to start talking to our leaders to look into. You have brought us something that we are appreciating, which is so good. Merging the market. But merging the market is theoretical without having practical steps to make it happen. The practical steps is the buying force, which is the currency used, and the ability to move from one nation to the other. We are eliminating borders. How do we do that? We need to change and make sure we have one passport that will do that. And if that is not done, I want to be sincere in saying that it will just be a policy, it will just be another ratification on paper that will have no influence and no impact on Africa.
Of course, that's what some people say. It's your opinion, but then the leadership of the African Union feels that it is a new era for Africa already, and of course, a challenge to African nations to actually bring together all these differences, compromise the differences, and see how they can facelift the economies of Africa. If you are just joining us, you are most welcome. This is as well an interactive program. So from wherever you're watching, you can just dial the numbers you see on your screen and participate. What do you think needs to be compromised for the African Continental Free Trade Area to fully materialize, or for African countries to fully exploit the advantages or the benefits of this trade area? Over to you, Mrs. Shodeka. We come again to accentuate on this aspect, financial aspect. We know that in Africa, then the financial dependency is one of the reasons why Africa is actually lagging behind, why there is slow economic growth on the continent. So what needs to be compromised to bring, or what, in your opinion, what do you think Africa needs to do as regards maybe the currency or the legal tender to use when the Continental Free Trade Area or after comes into play?
Oh, well, when it comes to the issues with currency, passports, all those type of things, I think it's just us trying to force an alliance, if I can put it that way. We're trying to force, create some sort of alliance by force, whereas the countries involved are not even ready. You understand? The Francophone system already has a currency based on the euro. and other countries are trying to figure out how their currency will be like. Yes, it might, to be frank, the argument surrounding currency is not so big on me because I don't understand how that is supposed to help us better because we have the same currency. To be frank, I don't know. Maybe we are trying to copy, the euro, in that sense, in the fact that, the European Union has put together their monies and they are using it to trade and it's really good and so on and so forth. Oh, that's spectacular. But I don't know. My question is the continent ready for that kind of forceful alliance, forceful integration? Because that's how I see it. Because African countries have been left to fly on their own for so long, and we can't really find ourselves to collaborate in the way we really need to, if I can put it that way. So as much as we desire having a common passport, a common currency, these things are, there's so much disparity that to now integrate all these things is like forceful. So I just think we can take it one step at a time. Let us get this trading done first. Let us see how trading can work for us first. It is very important we find that first. This trading that we are talking about, how easy is it for me to move my goods to Cameroon without being stressed by customs, without being stressed by police officers on the road? Because there are some routes that just have police officers stressing traders out. One thing I learned about this trading thing is I know the capacity of Africans to trade amongst one another. I just believe governments are really the ones putting a clog in the wheel, stopping the people from really trading with themselves. Because I see women, I remember then trying to cross the West African borders. I see women coming from Nigeria having some of our products in bako bags, in many bako bags. And what are they doing? They found a market in somewhere like Lomé or in Cotonou. And so they stop all the way. They keep stopping. They take taxis to cross the border. They sell to the market woman in Cotonou, move from there to Lomé, come back to collect their money, come back to Nigeria. That's their own trade. And that's a big trade. Imagine that woman, what they are earning, and imagine what her counterpart is earning also in those countries. So for me, I believe so much that let us figure out this trading thing first. The trading aspect is key. Let us figure out how to trade, how to help this woman, and many others to trade in a way that will make it like the movement, let the movement of trade be easier on her. Then I think we can talk about currency, I understand completely where the professor is coming from because, for example, the fluctuation in currencies, compared to, how the Naira is fluctuating on the CFA on most occasions is devastating to even the trader moving his goods because he has to make profits. I completely understand, and I completely understand how traders having to deal with all those things. But I believe one thing, if we Africans, we like to put the cart before the horse. Let's take it one step at a time. Let's figure out, let this trading become the massive thing we do. Not a situation where one government just decides again and close the borders and say, oh yeah, nobody from any African country is coming to trade in my country because I want to start making all my produce by myself. Nobody should come again, I don't want anybody. That is not a trade agreement. That is just bullying. So I believe one thing, let us figure out this trading and figure it out in a way that politics does not clog the wheel. Let the people decide how to run the trading. Let the people with ideas, people with the energy, people with the drive this trading. Let it be easy for me to move chemical from Côte d'Ivoire into Nigeria. The reason why I talk this well about this trading thing is I have physically been involved in situations that had to do with trading. Songhai, for example, right by Nigeria, there was dealings where Nigerian the Songhai farmers needed to come into Nigeria, and it was really complicated for them trying to integrate into the Nigerian market because everything is always about self-sufficiency, and you cannot be self-sufficient if you don't have the infrastructure in place. Do we have the infrastructure to deal with a currency right now? That's the question. Do we have it? If we have it, why not? But if we do not have it, our infrastructure is limited. And so coming back to even what the
Prof said initially when he talked about land is important to agriculture. Maybe I will agree with him in the sense that it's only land we still have for the meantime. We might not have the technical know-how or the scientific know-how. So let's manage the one we have and see how we can work with what we have. So for me, I would use that same argument on every other thing. What we have right now is a crude method of trading even, countries are ready, countries are not ready, goods will still move left, right, or center. People are involved, and I believe when people have the tenacity to overcome any kind of situation, and as Africans, we know we have that. We have resilience and all that. So let people trade first. Let's see how well this goes, this trading agreement, how well it goes. Let's see how well it transcends time and space, if I can put it that way, where I don't necessarily need to be physically present to get my goods across the borders and so on and so forth. Then we can talk about currency and passport, because no country, for example, South Africa is not open to opening its borders in that way to someone in Nigeria. I assure you, we all have that fear at the back of our minds because we are not sure what will happen if we suddenly open our borders all wide to Africans. So I'll repeat, let's just deal with the little things we can deal with one step at a time. Let's trade first. Let's see how far that trading goes. And let's hope that no government decides again to close their borders against other Africans. So that's what I can say. Thank you.
Miss Shadika, I'll be coming back to you, Prof, but let me go with Javans. We are looking at the economic inequality. I want you to probably talk about the differences or the economic parts of African economics. So let's look at how economic inequality can actually be probably tackled under the after.
Let me start by reacting to what Prof said, that we need to have an intercontinental passport, a uniform currency, and so on and so forth. As a businessman that has a little bit of experience in trading internationally, I think that there are some aspects when it concerns trading, and it concerns Africa now. We don't need to really look probably that we must accompany that before we start with the trade area. First, the most important thing we should be looking at is, can it be possible for me to call the South African embassy now that I need a visa to go to South Africa tomorrow and stamp my passport? Because the most essential thing that takes me to South Africa is my visa, not me having a passport that, though a uniform passport will somehow empower Africa, but as we are starting now without that, can there be a clause that permits an African businessman, an African entrepreneur to easily have access to a country? The last time I was going to Nigeria, I left Cameroon without stamping my passport. My passport was stamped at the airport in Nigeria, which to me was beneficial. I didn't waste time to go to the airport, and my business in Nigeria was well done, and I returned back to Cameroon within the stipulated time. So we should be looking at the amount of time that an entrepreneur from a different country is permitted to be into another country. We should also look at what the custom departments of the various countries are doing to permit goods or to allow goods, the tariff they lay on foreign goods coming into the country. And we should also look into the regulatory bodies that regulate the quality of goods to be supplied in various countries. That is what we should be looking into once we are talking about the AFCTFA, because we are already about starting, and we cannot start if we go ahead diagnosing the essential problems. Because when it comes to the African currency, uniform currency problem, the African intercontinental passport, those are big problems that if we are going into that, we will finally stop. We will never realize
the trading.
The trading. But if we can start now with what we have, we know that countries have the right to regulate their permits that gives us the accessibility, grants us accessibility into their markets. We can have a good start from there. We can go right from there. But if we want to start a policy or an agreement with which currency we are going to use, it will be somehow a little bit tedious. We have seen what has been happening in West Africa with the ECO. Till now, I don't know if they have started using it or they're still planning to go into that. What if we go now that we want to adopt a currency for 54 countries? That will be another long shot that will limit a lot of entrepreneurs from realizing their goals. Then, when we talk about something, as I earlier said, the major problem we are facing now with starting with the AFCFTA is the level of preparedness in terms of the quality of products, what we send into the market. I always say, since this thing was launched, that it was high time the accord that was signed also provides or force governments, because we sometimes need to work based on their prescription. It places them that you go back. We in Cameroon, we should see that we are good in agriculture, and Cameroon should be like, okay, we will cover the agricultural land space in the market. We are going to produce, we will set our speciality shall be the agricultural domain. Why those from Ethiopia return home and say, no, we have been leading in the airspace, why don't we patronize the airspace? Those in Nigeria say, okay, in the oil and gas industry, we have been perfect there, let's focus on that. Those in South Africa say, we are good in the high-tech industry, why don't we focus on that? That is how we come to harmonize it. But now, since everybody has been allowed to play every role in the market, there will be a lot of competition in the market, and many countries will turn out to be dumping grounds, which, if countries turn out to be dumping grounds, I bet you the agreement will not last. The agreement will not last because countries will have the right to veto the agreement. There are countries that will sit and no. For the past few months, we are good in producing salt. The salt that has been consumed into these countries from different countries. What should we do now? Let us stop the importation of this. It is contraband. And you see that internal conflicts occur before we know it. The trade agreement will be cancelled. So what is really a stumbling block now is our level of preparedness. What are we good at? What are we sure that if we are telling an entrepreneur to leave Uganda and come to Cameroon now, what is he coming to trade? What is he coming to trade? What is it that we are not able to provide that they are coming to give to us? So there could have been a sort of some type of limitation that says that, okay, if this is your expertise, then we know that in the market space you play a vital role in this. Why don't we even go into the regulatory body and we say that if we are good, for example, in agriculture, anything that we accept in the international market or in the continental market from agriculture, the regulator or one of the members of the regulatory board should be from this country that have expertise in it. So that is what I think is gonna be a big problem. But you also know that even with the currency issue, young entrepreneurs are fast running away from the fiat currencies. Many entrepreneurs are fast running away from it. There are several times that when traveling, I don't pick up any currency, I don't change any currency. You step in an airport in any country, you look for the nearest dealer in cryptocurrency, you transform your money into fiat currency. Yeah. Most of the transactions at Legacy Holdings, we permit that they use them through fiat currency. So now the AFCFTA Commission could have also seen into it that there is a necessity for that uniform currency. Why don't we see how we can adopt fiat currency, given to the fact that the world powers that we always turn to them for reference, they are also adopting it. We are not doing it because they are, but we are doing it because we think that it can. Yeah? Yeah, it's so practical, and it can create us a uniform base. So those are the things that I think that if we can address them, then the AFCFTA will be economically stable. It will give that uniform platform for everybody to go to the market space, come back with something home. Let us not create a scenario whereby countries will feel that we are just a dumping ground or we are just consumers. No. We should create that space where everybody becomes a producer and a consumer.
Okay, I think you should.
African heads of state give their approval for the entry into force of the African Continental Free Trade Area from January 1, 2021. It was during an African Union summit by video conference, Saturday, December 5, 2020. Here, John Roberts, for Universal News TV.
Thank you for following us on YouTube. And if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so that you will not miss our next videos.